What's going on, everyone? Today I'm going to be going through my UFC 297 main card predictions. It's the first pay-per-view of the year, taking place in Toronto, and this is my first YouTube video, so I'm pretty excited to get started on this journey. So without further ado, let's get to the fights. First fight on the main card is Movsar Evloev versus Arnold Allen. I am going with Movsar Evloev here. It's a pretty big step up in competition for Movsar in the sense that he's getting his first top 5 opponent. It's a big deal. He's on the verge of a title fight, both of them actually. He's coming off that win against Diego Lopez. He's also coming off a recent win against Dan Ige, which really impressed me. And he really popped up on my radar after that fight. It was an amazing performance. Really hurt Dan Ige all fight long. His boxing really stood out that fight. Really showed that he's more than just a wrestler. He's very dangerous in all phases of MMA. I want to see Movsar's takedown entries here. I want to see when he's going to shoot and how often he's going to shoot. I do think he's going to shoot at some point in the middle of the first round. I do think they're going to want to box. I think Movsar is going to want to prove a point early, show that striking against an elite boxer in this sport in Arnold Allen. And I want to see whether Arnold will be the aggressor. I think it's very important who leads the dance here. If Arnold is the one leading the dance, will Movsar be less hesitant to shoot? We've seen Arnold put people away, being the aggressor. We saw him demolish Dan Hooker in the first round with some crazy exchanges, but Dan Hooker did catch him with one solid punch in that exchange, but he ends up getting the finish. I do think Movsar can get the takedowns. It might not be on the first shot, but Movsar is very good at chaining his takedowns together. He can shoot in space against the cage. It doesn't matter. I think he can get it down at some point. And in a 3-round fight, control time, damage on the ground, possibly. I could see Movsar banking some early rounds here. Arnold can be a little low on the output, which worries me in a 3-rounder. But this is as close can get. I think it should be a 50-50 fight. But I'm leaning Movsar. He really impressed me against Dan Ige, with the striking especially. So I'll take him here. Next fight on the main card, Marc-Andre Barriault versus Chris Curtis. I am going with Chris Curtis. I think it's a clash of styles here. Chris is very efficient. Great takedown defense, especially shown in that Rodolfo Fierro fight. And he loves to rip to the body and uses those body hooks really well, especially in close. As for Barriault, overwhelming volume. Nasty clinch. This is his bread and butter. His clinch is nasty. He breaks people against the cage. He took Julian Marquez, as Colby Covington would say, to the 7th layer of hair. So I had to throw a Colby joke in there, my first video. He's also very good at using his knees in the clinch. Broke Julian badly. A minute of unanswered shots. Did a good job in the clinch against Eric Anders too. But he is very hittable, which is where I think Chris can find his openings. Chris can be pushed back a little bit, but I think he can stand his ground against Barriault, who can lunge into range. And with Chris, the way he gets his finishes is through that counter punch with guys lunging in. We saw it against Joaquin Buckley. He lunged into range and caught him. Same thing with Phil Hawes. And I think the more opportunity in the pocket, there's the more opportunity for Chris to land that shot or hurt him and bank some rounds. I do think Chris is going to be more active here in this fight. Throw more volume. It's a big fight in the trajectory of his career. He's coming off some bad luck recently with the Ian Gary sparring incident and the 2 headbutts in his recent fights. He needs a win. I think he's going to get it done. Next up, Mike Malott versus Neil Magny. I am going with Mike Malott. I just think Neil Magny is a little too prone to getting submitted. He's been submitted 6 times in his career. Malott's got 6 submissions. The rest of his wins are by knockout. Magny has been submitted pretty easily. Got submitted in Brazil against Gilbert Burns by arm triangle. Shavkat caught him in a guillotine in the second round of their fight, toward the very end of the fight. I just think McNeil's takedown defense is not there anymore. And especially in the Ian Gary fight, the leg kicks could be another softening factor here. Will Malott take the Ian Gary approach, soften those legs, then shoot, or will he just try and bulldoze him immediately? I think Malott's very explosive, very good striking, power, speed advantage, and it's the home field advantage. The Toronto kid on the Toronto card, I think the UFC clearly wants to make Malott the face of Canadian MMA. He's definitely got the personality for it. It's a big step up in competition, though. And as for Magny, can Magny safely get the fight to the fence? I think this is his only path to victory. To take Malott to the Holly Holmes School of Fence Work, as I like to call it. Grind him out against the cage, just like he did to Phil Rowe. This isn't Magny's first rodeo against an up-and-comer. I just don't see Magny being able to threaten Malott. I think Malott's going to just shoot in, maybe get a late first-round sub, finish. I'd be very shocked if this goes to distance. So I'm going Malott by first round. Co-main event, Raquel Pennington versus Mayra Bueno Silva. I am leaning toward Bueno Silva. In title fights, I usually pick the fighter with more finishing potential. I think that is an advantage to Silva. Silva's been finishing a lot of her fights recently. She's got a nasty armbar, nasty BJJ. And as for Pennington, I think her jab can really benefit her here. Bueno Silva can lunge into range. I think that can bank some damage early. She's got clean boxing. Did very well in the second and third round against Ketlin Vieira. And I think she might take a page out of the Holly Holmes School of Fence Work. We saw Holly control Mayra against the cage in the first round. Will Pennington try and bank some rounds, or try to bank some rounds early by controlling Bueno Silva against the cage and avoiding the power? And she's got experience. The experience is clearly on the side of Pennington. She's been 5 rounds before. She's fought for the title against Nunes a while ago. She got destroyed, but she's been 5 rounds. She's fought the who's who of this division. As for Bueno Silva, I think she's going to be the one being the aggressor here. And she's got some nasty leg kicks and body kicks. We saw her slam Lena Landsberg with those leg and body kicks. I think that could be a nice way to slow Pennington down in a 5-rounder. And can we have some deja vu here? Can we see some submissions against the cage? I doubt it, but I do think Bueno Silva is capable of getting Pennington down in an unusual way. I don't think she's going to be able to shoot a traditional like double or single to get Pennington down, but I do think she can catch her in a sweep maybe, or by dropping her, maybe get an arm bar. But I think this goes to decision, most likely. I lean Bueno Silva by decision. I think this is her time. I don't like the inactivity for Pennington. She's been out for a year, I think. Her last fight was against Ketlin Vieira. So I do think Bueno Silva is going to get this done. And for the main event, Dricus du Plessis versus Sean Strickland. I am going with Dricus. Once again, I go with the fighter who I think has more finishing potential. The most important part of this fight early is Dricus going forward versus Sean going backward. This is what I personally can see. We've seen Sean pushed back in a few of his fights and had success with it. In the first round of the Abus Magomedov fight, Abus was doing a good job of putting a pace on Sean, slamming him with leg kicks, kicking away. The problem is he just didn't have the cardio to sustain that. I just don't see Dricus being the one taking the step back here. Another factor, will Sean fight emotionally? Now, I'm recording this before the last press conference. I have no idea what kind of circus that's going to be. So, is there going to be anything else said that's going to result in some fisticuffs at the face-off? We'll see. I doubt it. Sean's a pro. Eric Nixick's going to have him ready. But you never know with these two. Will there be danger for Sean if the fight hits the floor? Sean is very capable of holding himself down in the grappling exchanges. He can grapple. He just hasn't had to use it. I do believe Dricus is the more dangerous of the two on the ground. We saw him really soften up Whitaker in the end of the first round with those elbows. Did a really good job. And then with that judo throw, it was like a head throw. Took him down, softened him up with the elbows, and then got him out of there in the second. The jab was the icing on the cake, then finished him off. The way I can see Sean winning, though, is if he catches Dricus in the middle of an exchange, similarly to how he caught Adesanya. It was straight right. It's Sean Strickland 101, the jab, the cross, the teat. Sean is very simple, straight to the target. Dricus can lunge into range, and I think this is where Sean's opportunity could be. But I just think Dricus, he's got a great chin. I think his cardio isn't as big of a concern. He's been training for 5-round fights his whole career. He's trained for an EFC, KSW. He's had title fight after title fight. And he's shown really good cardio. Even with a busted nose, we've seen him breathing out of his mouth. I get it. But he just finds a way. He finds a way to get it done. Whether it be on the ground, just willing his way to the ground, willing his way to a knockout. And as for, I think the coaching chess match here is going to be really important. These are two very unusual fighters, very unorthodox styles. Eric Nixick and Marin Visser, I believe his name is, Dricus' coach. They're going to have their hands full, whether it be what they were doing in training camp or between rounds. Very unusual fighters to deal with and prepare for. But I think Dricus is going to be able to muscle Sean to the ground, maybe drop him, ground and pound TKO. I just don't think Sean has the power to be able to rock Dricus. But I'm really excited for this fight. It's a great main event to start the year. And that's all I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe. This is my first video, so let me know what you think. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and we will see what happens.